Welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast, your home for weekly information and inspiration to help you get the graduate job of your dreams.
Hello and welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast with your host, James Curran. The Graduate Job Podcast is your home for all things related to helping you on your journey to find that amazing job. Each episode I bring together the best minds in the industry, speaking to leading authors, graduate recruiters and career coaches who bring decades of experience into a bite-sized weekly 30-minute-ish show. Put simply, this is a show I wish I had when I graduated. Hello and welcome to the 94th episode of the Graduate Job Podcast, the UK's #1 careers podcast. Today, I take you through the tricky topic of how to deal with rejection when you apply for a graduate job. It's a topic that you hope you aren't going to have to deal with, but the simple fact is, at some stage, you're going to get the old thanks but no thanks email, and you're going to need to know what to do when it lands through in your inbox. In today's episode, I take you through the 8 stages of dealing with getting rejected from a graduate job, from acknowledging exactly why it hurts to why you really shouldn't take it personally, to why you need to step back and be honest with yourself, and how you should go about doing this. I delve into why getting feedback on your performance is so crucial, and just as importantly, what you need to do with that feedback. In this episode, I take you step by step through the process from anger and upset at the initial rejection to taking the learning and using it to supercharge your graduate job search. No matter where you are in your job search, if you've started applying or still thinking about which jobs to apply to, if you've not had a rejection yet, or if you've got a stack of them, this is an episode which you aren't going to want to miss. Now, the only link you need to remember from today, and there's quite a few links, is graduatejobpodcast.com/rejection, as that has all of the links to everything which we discuss and a full transcript which you can download, so make sure you head on over there. Now, before we start, let me tell you about the brilliant course I'm working on, cunningly titled How to Get a Graduate Job. This course is packed chock full of decades of experience into one step-by-step guide of everything you need to do to get a graduate job. There are videos, guides, handouts, cheat sheets, example CVs, example cover letters, example answers to those annoying 200-word competency questions, help with telephone interviews, video interviews. Look, if you need to know it to get a graduate job, it's in my course. And this course is going live in August, but to be the first to hear about it and to get it at a never-to-be-repeated price with special bonuses, head on over to graduatejobpodcast.com/course and leave me an email. Okay, let's get on with the show. So let's get into today's topic of rejection. And the first thing to acknowledge is that it hurts. There's no getting around the fact that getting rejected from a graduate job is a painful activity. And there's good reasons why this is the case. Studies apparently show that the exact same area of the brain that is activated when processing the rejection of a graduate job is also the centre for processing actual physical pain. That is to say, neurologically speaking, our brains cannot decipher the difference between being hurt physically and being hurt emotionally. Now, how crazy is that? Rejection from a job can hurt you physically. And scientists have made experiments where people were rejected on purpose by total strangers, and the person who was rejected, even though they didn't know the other person, was still disappointed. Now, even when the rejected group of people was informed later that these strangers had been told specifically by the scientists to reject them, and it had absolutely nothing to do with who they were, it didn't lessen their disappointment. Now, if that's how you feel with a rejection from a stranger, then if you've put in a really good application for a graduate job, where you've been investing and engaging in a personal and emotional way, where you've maybe visualised yourself actually doing the job, going to that office every day, saying good morning to these people who are going to be colleagues, etc. If you've designed and committed to this vision of your future life, it's no wonder that it hurts when you get the email saying, unfortunately, on this occasion, we will not be proceeding with your application. Or even worse, if they don't bother to get in touch at all. It is completely natural that it's going to hurt. So, even though it hurts, this does move you on to point 2, which is, it's part of the process. Rejection happens to everybody. It is a fact that everybody fails at a job interview at some point. Now, whether you're used to rejection or not, you need to be strong enough to take the knocks and learn from them. Coming to grips with this fact and learning to accept rejection as part of the process will help you build your mental and emotional armour. Rejections are the inevitable part of the graduate job hunt process. How you learn from them and move on is what matters, which takes us to point 3. The key thing is not to take it personally. Don't use a job interview as a measure of your professional worth. The hiring process at most companies is often difficult to gauge and typically out of your control. So just because you didn't make it past the interview round or the assessment centre doesn't mean you're not qualified for the job. For example, you may think you were turned down because your application wasn't quite impressive enough or you messed up in an interview, but in reality, the company could have made an internal hire or gone for the person who did an internship there or one of the director's kids, or they could have just discontinued the job listing altogether, or simply maybe picked a candidate who had slightly more relevant experience than you. These are things you cannot change. They are beyond your control and there is no point worrying about them. You need to focus instead on the things in your control. You also need to realise that every job you don't get is a lucky escape. Try thinking, if this employer, having an awareness of the work environment and knowing exactly what the role entails, feels I wasn't best suited for this role, then it probably wouldn't have been a very comfortable fit for me. Chances are your skill set was just different to the one that they are on the hunt for, in which case you will flourish and enjoy a job somewhere else much more anyway. So yay, now you can go out and find that job. So while you shouldn't take it personally, you do need some self-reflection. So step number 4 is be honest. You need to turn the spotlight in on yourself, and it's time to be honest. How much did you really want the graduate job? Yeah, I know you wanted it, but how much did you want the job really? Was it the only company you applied to? Or was it one of 40 different graduate schemes that were still open for applications? Now, if your answer still is, I really, really badly wanted this specific job, then you have every reason to be annoyed about being rejected. You also have every reason to find out how you can improve your performance in the future in case another opportunity presents itself. But if your answer is, I really wanted a job, then maybe this is already your answer as to why you got rejected. Let me tell you a little personal example. Back when I was applying for a graduate job, I applied to the graduate scheme of one of the big management consultancies. I started the long online application wanting to apply for the general management consulting stream that they had available at the time. I went through the application, procrastinated about sending it off, and then near the end applied. But I took so long that by the time I did get around to applying, the general management consulting stream I really wanted had been filled up. But they did have places left on the technological consulting stream, and they said, did I want to apply for that one? Now, the answer was not really, but I really liked the company, and I figured that if I got in, then maybe I could transfer across to the stream that I did want to work in. I did the competency interview and did quite well, with the exception though that I scored really poorly on the question about why I wanted to work in the technology stream, which wasn't really a surprise. But I somehow managed to make it through to the assessment centre and thought I could do a better job there at blagging why I was really, really excited about working in a sector I had no interest in. I managed to get a place on the last assessment centre they were running, which was only 2 days later, so I didn't have too much time to practice. I can remember going down on the train and reading through Wikipedia to see what exactly a CRM system was. So I went down and did well in the group exercise, well in the presentation, and the competency questions were okay. But it's really difficult to fake passion in something in which you have no passion. And the feedback I got was I would be a great fit for the company, but not for this stream. Thanks, but no thanks. I really wanted a job with the company, but they really wanted someone who really wanted that job in that specific stream. And that wasn't me. Saying that, and going back to point 1, it still hurt like hell getting the rejection, and I was absolutely gutted. But in retrospect, thinking about point 3, I'm not really sure how much I would have enjoyed working in a stream I knew nothing about and had no passion for. So, in all honesty, they would probably do me a favour. So point 4 is be honest with yourself about the real motivations you had for applying for that job. Point 4 was about being internal, and point 5 is being external and getting it off your chest. As the old BT advert says, It's good to talk, and it helps to get the frustrations you are feeling about not getting a graduate job off your chest. Talk to your family, friends, partner, or anyone else you're comfortable talking to about how you feel, and they will be very sympathetic. Even better is to get a mentor or coach to talk to, as they can keep you on track and offer that honest impartiality. Now, I'm available for coaching if I have slots available, so email me at hello@graduatejobpodcast.com to find out more, or check out the coaching page on the site. Also, check out episode 63 on mentoring, on why they're so important and how to go about getting one. Links in the show notes at graduatejobpodcast.com/rejection. The crucial thing, though, is to stay positive. Don't spend all your time talking to Debbie Downer friends who can't get a job either, as you might just end up wallowing in pity. And wallowing will do you no good. What will do you good is point 6, which is follow-up and feedback. The crucial thing to remember is rejection is not feedback. Feedback is feedback. Feedback is understandably crucial so you can learn and improve. However, most employers are reluctant to give out detailed feedback for 2 reasons. The first is that they don't have time to sit down with every applicant that got rejected because there are simply too many applicants and they would never ever get anything else done. They would spend their lives feeding back to people, telling them to do a spell check on applications or to practice numerical tests. Secondly, employers are wary of lengthy discussions or even lawsuits if an applicant feels unfairly rejected. They hold back with feedback because they don't want it used against them. Remarkably few graduates, though, take the proactive step and actively seek out feedback. So if you do, you will be one of the few who does, and you're instantly helping to put yourself ahead of the pack. Now, the further you got in the process, though, the more chance there is of getting feedback. If you fell at the online application stage, the chances of getting any feedback are slim to none. But if you did get past the online application phase, then you have a much higher chance. So the challenge is that you want feedback and they might not want to give it to you. So how do you go about getting it? Well, luckily, I have some tips for you today. Tip number 1 is it's best to contact a member of the graduate recruitment team if possible, rather than one of the individual assessors or interviewers you might have had. Now, you should have the contact details from one of the graduate recruitment team at some stage of the application process, so now is a time to hit them up. Ringing them is best, as it's harder for them to say no if you get them on the phone, and email is just really the lazy way, as it's so easy to ignore emails. If you have the name of someone but no number, maybe ring reception and ask if you can be put through if you don't have their direct dial. Remember though, just to keep your request polite and professional, and don't expect too much if the furthest you got was submitting your CV. When you do ask for feedback, be polite and keep the conversation as brief as possible. Listen carefully, don't be tempted to argue if you disagree with any comments, and remember to say thank you for the feedback, and if appropriate, for the interview and assessment centre day as well. Don't forget, the key thing is to make lots of notes. Make notes about everything, but especially the aspects of your performance that could be improved, and decide what practical steps you need to get it right next time. If you've got an inkling about what you could have done better, you could also approach them with your theory. Now, some employers might find it easier to answer a specific question about a certain part of your application than to review the whole process with you. It also shows that you can reflect about your capabilities and are therefore willing to deal with feedback. If you get the impression from the feedback that it was a very near miss, you can always ask the recruiter to keep you posted if people they make offers to drop out further down the line, which always tends to happen. Feedback can be the one thing that takes you from being an unemployed graduate to a young professional within 2 interviews. So try your best to get a response from your interviewer. Getting feedback then takes us to stage 7. Take the feedback you have received and do some honest analysis of yourself and your performance. Feedback is a gift if you use it and learn from it. So stage 7 is to analyse your performance honestly. Now, a disclaimer here. Because we haven't got all day, the following advice assumes that you're a smart candidate, that your CV or graduate application is clear, concise, and very importantly, typo-free, and that you're not doing anything weird like making jokes in your online application form or putting down letsgetlashed@gmail.com as your contact address. Okay, so that's out of the way. Until you land a job, you should constantly be asking yourself, what could I be doing differently that might yield better results? There is always more you can do to increase your chances. Accept this and you free yourself to start trying new, more effective strategies and to stop repeating the mistakes that were wasting your time and energy. Take some time to reflect. Are the roles you are going for right for you? Do they fit your skill set, your work experience, your academic achievements? You should see this analysis process as a great opportunity, because if you keep learning and getting better, then you will get there in the end. While rejection can be awful, it can also be a really good opportunity. It gives you a chance to reassess and develop, meaning that your next interview is going to be better than your last. The main thing, though, is to see the positive side and not to let it get you down or to put you off applying for more graduate jobs. Why? Because the most effective way for graduates to bounce back from rejection is to take charge and to take action. The smartest graduates I work with use rejection to gather clues about how to make their job hunt even more effective, thereby increasing their chances of not being rejected next time. Think about where in the process it was that you fell down. Was it the initial application, online tests, telephone interview, assessment centre? As different stages will have different reasons. If we take each of those in turn, so did you get past the online application or CV phase? If you didn't get past this stage, then be honest in thinking about if you really did enough research on the company. Graduates often panic and think sending off more applications across more companies and more industries equals a higher chance of getting a job. Right? Wrong. First off, if you're firing off dozens of applications, you probably aren't doing them properly. Employers know a scattergun candidate when they see one. Secondly, if you're applying for jobs across several different industries, then you're not going to benefit from the full effects of accumulating deeper understanding with every application that you write and every interview you attend. Picking one industry and becoming an expert in it usually leads to better results than spreading yourself too thin. Also, did you answer the questions which were asked in the application, or did you answer the questions that you already had an answer for? Were your answers cut and pasted from an application from a different company? Did you know the company values? Did it have any spelling mistakes in it? Did you fully use the word count? Did you get the application in well before the closing deadline? Did you have the right skills? Now, in last week's episode, where I spoke to DS Smith, the recruitment manager said the main reason that 70% of CVs didn't get past the first stage was that they just simply didn't have the language skills they were looking for. They wanted people who were fluent, and people who only had GCSE language skills were applying. So as a result, they were rejected straight away. So if you can say hand on heart that you passed all of the points above, then you could just be unlucky. But I think you may need to look again harder. Now, if you failed at the online test stage, then this is an easy one. Practice. This is the proverbial schoolboy error that so many people fail at. Stop being so tight and pay the £20 to £30 to get access to some proper tests. Check out the show notes at graduatejobpodcast.com/rejection, where I link to my episode on the topic of how to pass online tests and also the 3 companies you need to be practicing with. Practice and keep practicing till you are getting the answers correct. It's as easy as that. Forget scrabbling around on the internet to try and find some free resources. Stop being tight and get your wallet out. It's worth it. If you failed at the interview stage, think about both your preparation and your delivery. For your preparation, again, did you know the company and its values? Did you know in advance the type of questions you're going to be asked, i.e. competency questions or skills-based questions? Did you have a big collection of ready and prepared answers, each carefully crafted into the STAR format? Were these answers a mix of different examples of university, work experience, sporting, volunteering, etc., showing how well-rounded you are as a person? Or maybe did you only talk about group work you did at university? Or was it your delivery? Were you in a calm, relaxed and quiet place for the interview? Did you go in with a relaxed frame of mind, and were you positive and enthusiastic throughout the interview? Were your answers calmly delivered or rushed with you being flustered? Did you talk too fast? Did you mumble? Did you not use the STAR methodology? Did you get stumped by some questions and not know what to say? Did you not have the time? Did you not answer some of the questions? Did you not practice for a Skype video interview and didn't know what to expect? Now, if you fell on the preparation stage, then you need to put lots more work and effort in. If it was delivery that let you down, then you need to practice your delivery. Get a coach where you can practice and go through mock interviews and make sure that you're ready. Or utilise your careers service at university, who often run mock sessions. Alternatively, get a friend to ask you questions and record yourself on the phone. Either way, it's all about practice and knowing where your weaknesses are so you can improve them. Finally, did you fail at the assessment centre? If you followed the feedback steps from earlier, you should have some detailed feedback from the recruitment team to help you. If it was the interview that let you down, then focus on the comments on interviews above. If it was a group exercise, was it because you were talking too much and over people, or just not getting involved at all? Was it the presentation that let you down? Again, check out today's show notes at graduatejobpodcast.com/rejection, where I have links to previous episodes and videos I've created to help around both of these issues. If you have issues speaking in public, then the key is to practice. Practice speaking in front of people if you're not very confident. Try first with some of your family members or friends, and then keep building it up until you have more confidence. If you really want to take it to the next level, try a group like Toastmasters, where you can learn public speaking skills. And that's what it is, really. It's a skill. It's something which you can develop and get better at over time. The key thing is to practice. If you fell down like me in the earlier example I gave, due to the fact that your passion and interest in the role just isn't there, then have a think about what it is you really are interested in and what it is that's going to get you excited. Listen to my episodes with Scott Mouts, John Lees and Colby Jubenville for how to find your passion. Links again in the show notes. Now, it doesn't matter which stage you fell down. Thinking about your past performance will help you improve your future performance. So I've given you lots of advice so far, from point 1 through to 7, and we've reached point 8, which is one of the most important, which is stay positive. It can be really difficult to keep plugging away when you feel like you're not getting anywhere, but you need to view the graduate job hunt as an overall process. Try and take something positive from each rejection to make the next application you send off a little bit better. The ability to handle rejection well is a skill which will help you throughout your life. And developing that ability to learn from setbacks is something which will help you in no matter what you go on to do. Don't give up. Come on, you've got this. If other people can get a graduate job, you can too. Resilience takes character, and learning to cope with rejection builds on that. Staying focused on positives, such as good feedback, instead of wallowing in negative vibes, will eventually mould you into a more balanced, confident human being in all aspects of life. I know it's easier said than done to stay positive, so here are a couple of practical things to help you along. Number 1 is to read the brilliant book Mindset by Carol Dweck. This book delves into the idea of the growth mindset and how if you utilise it, then you can build on failure and setbacks, such as rejection in a graduate job. Links to the book in the show notes at graduatejobpodcast.com/rejection. The second practical pointer, if you're feeling like a failure, is to develop a list of bragging rights. Keep a log of all your accomplishments and successes and develop key stories about times when you overcame an obstacle in the past. Now, these can be anything from how you passed your driving test first time to getting a great mark on a piece of coursework, to when you aced an interview to get a part-time job, how you dealt with conflict well in a group exercise at university, the time you were made captain of a football team, the time you gave a great performance in a school play, getting a first in a notoriously difficult topic for a dissertation. It doesn't matter what they are, and it might seem trivial to anyone else, but they're just for you. By recognising your strengths and your ability to succeed in the face of challenge, this simple exercise can instantly shift you from down in the dumps to psyched up. As a bonus, there are also useful tools for thinking about competency answers when you're answering questions at your next interview. To sum up today, I'll finish with some excellent advice from the brilliant Scott Mouts, who I interviewed back in episode 74. Check it out if you haven't listened already. Scott said, "There are only 3 ways to fail: when you quit, when you don't improve, and when you don't try. If you keep working hard and keep improving, you will always get there in the end. So there you go. My take on dealing with graduate job rejection. Make sure you check out the show notes. You know it by now. graduatejobpodcast.com/rejection. I will include links to all the books and episode I mentioned across the episode, and you can also find a transcript there. And finally, one very special thing to tell you about. If you're thinking of applying for a graduate job, then I've got a thing for you. I'm distilling down all my years of graduate job search knowledge into one brilliant online course, cunningly titled How to Get a Graduate Job. As I said at the beginning, this is going to tell you everything that you need to know and to do to get a graduate job. If you want to be one of the first to find out about the course and to get it at a special discount, never to be repeated price, and also get some extra special bonus offers, then head on over to graduatejobpodcast.com/course and leave your email. It's a brilliant course which will take you through every step of getting a graduate job, and it will save you years of frustrations and rejection. So head on over to graduatejobpodcast.com/course to find out more. That is everything from me today now. Let me know if you like the episode or if there's any particular topics that you'd like me to cover in the future. I hope you enjoyed it, but more importantly, I hope you use it and apply it. See you next week.